Hello, everyone, and welcome to On the Move, a show where we share transportation, sales, and marketing success stories. I am Jennifer Karpus-Romain, Executive Director at TMSA, a trade nonprofit educating and connecting marketing and sales professionals in transportation and logistics. And today on the show, I have Bob Book. He is Vice President of Marketing at Road Dog Care Company and Revolution Trucking. Welcome to the show, Bob. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. It's nice to be here.
Excited to have you, excited to chat. You are leading marketing in two different places, which is not, the norm. So these are two very different brands and audiences. How did you get that and do both? Let's start there. Yeah. And then we'll go into how you do that on a regular basis, shifting between the two.
Yeah, it was just like, doing marketing at one place is not enough work. So let's find somewhere else to just lead the marketing efforts. So I've been working with Revolution for about 4 years now. I started at a marketing agency where they were like our chief client. Eventually, they asked me to come on board as full-time head of marketing. And through working with Revolution, I got introduced to some other folks that were starting up this company called Road Dog Care. And they needed some kind of just like, I don't even want to call it fractional, just like one-off marketing consulting work done, which then transitioned into, I really like this brand. I'd like to do your go-to-market. I think that we could do this pretty quickly. And as we started developing the products, as we started developing the brand, it just made a lot of sense that I kind of had one foot in each camp. The nice thing is that there's such a good working relationship between the ownership of Revolution and Road Dog that they're kind of happy to share me back and forth with each other. And it's nice because I feel like it works both sides of my marketing brain, or I can kind of flex both muscles because one is very service oriented and one is very product oriented. Mm-hmm. And so I think that like from day to day, I'm never bored. I think that's the nice thing about it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like they're different brands, different identities. I do love that they play nicely together and they allow you to go back and forth because that's always like one of the biggest hiccups when you do things like that. So that's great. But how do you then shift your thinking between marketing transportation services and then marketing products that are created for the drivers and maybe, go into what those Road Dog Care products are for people that don't know?
Yeah, so I'll start with Road Dog. So yeah, Road Dog's core portfolio of products is designed for drivers to take on the road with them when they may not have access to a shower or just don't have time to stop at a truck stop and take a $20 shower. So the kind of core products are like bathing wipes, rinse-free shampoo, full body deodorant. So they're designed to keep truckers feeling fresh, living up to those standards that they have to keep for their professional cleanliness, but also not feeling like they're in a time crunch all the time. So it's a support and kind of care product. The nice thing about it is that now what we've discovered is that our chief kind of sales strategy is B2B. So instead of selling like e-commerce direct to truckers, we go to their companies and we pitch this as more of like a retention strategy. Mm-hmm. That, hey, we have all the data that truckers use this and like these products. We know that they're stopping at truck stops to buy products like this out of pocket. So by you guys providing this, it helps maintain your professional standards. It keeps money in the pockets of your drivers, and it's seen as a benefit by the drivers. And so there's a morale boost that leads to retention. So when you have that in play, it then becomes like I'm doing B2B work over here and I'm doing B2B work over here. And I feel like because of the product's background, I've had to really drill down on like, what are customer pain points? Why are people using these products? And living in that mindset so much has really helped me with Revolution as well, because at the end of the day, even if you're just looking for, I'm moving freight and I need those services, there's customer pain points involved. It's like someone's coming to Revolution for a specific reason, and Revolution's really great at these number of services. So when we did a rebrand for Revolution a year ago, we got our ducks in a row with the psychographics, and we really drilled down on what's the pain point here? What are we actually selling besides just these services? So it's been nice because as I've kind of like honed these muscles over here with Road Dog, they've really helped me kind of reapply them to Revolution.
Great. I love that. So I first saw the products at Elevate this year, and it was really cool. And everyone was talking about them, which is great. I also like that they're focused on, personal hygiene, wellness, and pet care, which I think is important because so many of the drivers do bring their pets. What I love about it is that it's solving this practical need, but it is building an emotional connection with the drivers, especially the way you're going to market and targeting the companies. So how do you kind of merge those concepts together when you're pushing out the marketing for it?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, like the danger is that you don't want to lean too heavily into the emotional side of things, right? Because I look at like competitors in the market, it's things like Dude Wipes, and you look at their marketing, and it's very strongly like you're choosing this because you're a dude and you're,
Sure.
they lean into that like manliness aspect. But I think at the end of the day, we don't really view them as a competitor because we're selling something different. And what we're selling is like this idea of keeping dignity when you're on the road. I think that like the demands of this industry on drivers, it necessitates that they're behind the wheel for X number of hours per week, that they have to get, their shipment delivered on time or like it comes back to them. And so a lot of times what we'll see is that they will skip personal hygiene routines to make sure that they're upholding the standards that, and the delivery windows that they have to maintain. And no one likes to show up to a delivery smelling bad. Like it's not a badge of honor. It's just something that these guys have to do as kind of a necessary evil. And so we had to kind of get ourselves into that mindset of, yes, we're solving a sort of cleanliness issue, but it's really an opportunity to restore dignity to an industry that I think sometimes inadvertently takes that away because of the tight windows that we make these people fit into.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's so important that, drivers care. They want to hit their deadlines. They want to stick to what they need to do, and they will offset that by, not taking care of themselves, which is not what we want to do and not how we show appreciation for the drivers. I do think then driver appreciation is often then expressed through meals and giveaways, events during driver appreciation week,
Yep.
which should be every week, but we have one week that's like really dedicated to it. I'm curious from like your data, conversations you had with drivers, what makes them feel genuinely valued beyond just, okay, it's an appreciation event, pat on the back, but like what actually makes those drivers feel appreciated by their companies?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the best way to think about it is like, I work in the corporate side of things. Like, I'm in an office every day. And if you work in an office, the last thing that you want to hear is like, we have a once a month or once a quarter pizza party. And that's the appreciation that we show our office staff. And I feel like the equivalent of that sometimes is what we do when we have these driver appreciation events. I know it's really hard to get all your
Mhm.
drivers off the road to come to an event, but what the drivers want to see more than just they gave me a meal and they had one big party is consistent effort throughout the year. It doesn't necessarily have to be salary rate, wage increases and raises and cost per mile so that they can get paid more. That obviously helps. But what they want to see is, are you thinking about me on the day to day? So it doesn't have to be something like these products. It could be something like, do you have your driver safety manager or your fleet manager calling and checking on these guys once a week? Just calling them for 15 minutes to do any sort of check in. I know that some companies now are providing like psychiatric care and they have additional medical benefits that can be accessed through telehealth. These are all good ideas. I think it comes back to the problem in the industry is that we're not taking retention efforts seriously enough. We spend a lot of money on recruiting, and I
Mhm.
think that just perpetuates this cycle of churn because we think that we have to constantly be replacing people. It's a lot cheaper to keep the people that you have, but you have to get more creative about it. And so I would just encourage companies, don't necessarily cut your recruiting budget beforehand, but think about how can we creatively be making consistent efforts to retain drivers and check in with them.
Mhm. Excuse me. I agree. I feel like it's always like recruitment, 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 but there should be recruitment and retention. Like that should
Yeah.
be a bigger part of the conversation. And sometimes I feel like people skip over the most important piece of just like asking them, hey, what would make you feel appreciated? Or what is the way you would want to receive an award or recognition? Like, I think having like drivers of the week and the month, that kind of stuff is really cool because you're highlighting drivers not everyone wants to be recognized that way, or they're like, okay, cool, but like, then what, And so
Yeah.
understanding how people receive that, that made me feel very like love languagey, but like, I think that's part of it. Like, how do you want to receive recognition, or what benefits are most important to you? I always laughed that, because as like a more office employee too, like, you could give me a gift card to Starbucks and I'll pretty much feel appreciated. Like,
Yeah.
and if you find my local coffee shop, even better. And so I'm driven by coffee, and people know that about me. But yeah, because like the pizza party isn't going to do it. I've worked in environments that they're like, oh, you can wear jeans on Friday. I'm like, I don't want to wear jeans any day. I want to wear leggings every day.
Yep.
So like, that does nothing for me. So like, I feel like understanding your employees and how they will actually work best overall, whether that is your office employees or your drivers, is a big piece of that. But don't ask them and then not do anything about it.
Yeah.
Because that's more of a slap in the face than not even asking the questions to begin with.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than a survey with no follow-up. But
Mhm.
I mean, I would also say too that, on the Revolution side of things, I'm constantly getting marketing emails from companies, and I don't believe in free promo, so I won't name name any companies here, but I got an email last week from a company that's basically providing like in-cab satellite TV services and internet. And, for people that are in sleeper cabs, that's huge. And a lot of
Mhm.
these people have to pay for it out of pocket. And when a company negotiates that at a group rate, obviously there's a huge discount involved, but the perceived value to the driver is I'm paying $100 out of pocket for that after my taxes are taken out and I get my paycheck. I don't even need to know necessarily that my company is only paying $35 for that at a group rate, because in my mind, there's $100 going back into my pocket or staying there each month. And so the
Mhm.
answer can't constantly just be pay increases and competitive, we're going to continue to pay our drivers more than everybody else, because eventually, like, that's just not going to work. Everybody's going to be maxing out what they can afford. So you have to think of creative ways to keep money in drivers' pockets in addition to having competitive wages.
Mhm. So TMSA and Road Dog Care are partnering on a driver appreciation week contest. So we have both acknowledged that you should appreciate drivers year round. So if you are doing something that you've already done that was really cool, I feel like that qualifies. We're kind of making the rules up as we go. This is the first contest, but we want to see what people are doing for driver appreciation. And we're asking companies to share with us how you are making your drivers feel valued. So curious, what are you hoping we learn from these stories and ideas? And I'm going to pop up this QR code. So if you're watching the show and you're interested in submitting, we want to hear your stories, scan up here.
No, I mean, there's a couple things that I'm hoping to learn. I want to see what appreciation efforts look like throughout the industry. Because again, like, I live in this sort of retention and appreciation space. And the most shocking thing for me has been the sort of lack of a standard across the
Mm,
board. That's not to say that people have low standards, but it just kind of feels like everyone's winging it and we don't know what each other are doing. And so it'll be nice to just kind of see visibly what companies are doing for their appreciation efforts. I also think it provides obvious opportunities for me with Road Dog to kind of come alongside, because we haven't announced it yet, but the winner of this contest will receive product for their entire terminal of drivers for a month. So we're going to send bulk product for a handout as an appreciation to help bolster your driver appreciation efforts. So I think there's a feedback mechanism, but there's also the visibility piece industry wide. And again, like, I'm a marketer. I think we're helping out our partner marketers as well in developing the sort of content that they'll want to be posting anyway throughout Driver Appreciation Week. So I really see it as a win-win.
Me too. This was really exciting for me. Our TMSA administrator, Tiffany, actually is the one who came up with this, because she saw your products at Elevate, and she's like, this is really, really cool. I think we should do something with driver appreciation, because that's such a big part of the industry. And we've always done like oh, tell us what you're doing, but there's never been like you can win free products or like any like reward for showcasing that. And I want to see what people are doing, because I love Driver Appreciation Week, because I love watching what everybody's doing, and it is something a little bit different across the board. And I love seeing the innovation and really thinking through, like you said, there are other ways that people are giving back to their drivers, and I don't think they're always publicizing that, so I want to see that. And as you mentioned, yes, so the winner of this competition will get Road Dog Hair products to distribute out. What products are you planning to send? A little sneaky
Well,
peek.
I think we're going to start with kind of our core products. So the bathing wipes, which are by like far and away our biggest selling product and the one that we get the most feedback on. And then we're going to kind of let the winner choose between a couple other products. So I've mentioned the rinse-free shampoo. Obviously, if you have drivers like me, you may not need the shampoo quite as much. So we have the full body deodorant as well. But then we also have an alertness line. So we manufacture energy shots and a no caffeine alertness spray, which is just designed to give your driver kind of like a quick 5 minutes. If your driver is getting drowsy on the road, obviously we care about driver safety. This helps give them that boost they need to get themselves off the road to a safe place. So we will be providing enough for drivers to have one of each of those products, and we'll work with the winner to kind of determine the best mix for their terminal.
I love that. I love that. Here's like the tested true product everybody loves, and then let's make it most applicable for the people that you have on your team. And I love the alertness spray. I've heard good things about that. I feel like that would be helpful. Like, I sit at a computer all day. There's times that you just want to take a little nappy, wake yourself up. As I mentioned, lots of caffeine and coffee here for me. So having an alternative would be great.
After like my fourth cup of coffee of the day, I just don't even, it doesn't do anything anymore.
Nope.
So like, the alertness sprays are made with essential oils and they smell really nice. So even once in a while, if I just feel like I'm sitting in a space that just kind of feels stale, I'm just like, yeah, let me spray some of this pine scented thing on my face. It smells amazing,
Love that. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm a lavender girl, so that's the scent that I will have throughout my house. But good sense can good sense can get you through a lot. Put that in tagline. So you also talked about developing kind of a broader pilot program with fleets with this kind of concept in mind. What do you hope to learn from companies and drivers as they test your products? How will that feedback shape what comes next? Because I often feel like we ask people for feedback and they don't give it to us because they don't understand how important it is. So here's your public platform to explain why it's important to give that back.
Well, again, I think this is kind of like a win-win situation, because for the companies themselves, you're getting the opportunity to give these products to your drivers for free. And that's our pitch, is we will supply 1 month free to one of your terminals as kind of a testing ground, because we believe that when drivers get these products in their hands, they love them. The feedback is always positive. And sometimes you need that kind of testimonial from within your own network to adopt it as a larger system across all of your drivers. So it's a good little pilot. But then I think also it helps shape where are we going to go with our product portfolio in the future. Is there something that drivers feel like we need to add to the products to make scent variations? Or, hey, we think that there's like a big glaring hole in your portfolio right now. I could really use some of these. The nice thing about us is that we kind of own manufacturing, warehousing, and fulfillment out of one location. So the entire supply chain, we own that, and we can develop products quickly. And so for us, it's the opportunity to kind of prove ourselves to companies, big or small. It's the opportunity for companies to give something to their drivers that isn't costing them anything, but has huge perceived value. And then it's also the ability for us to take that feedback and make our products better at the end of the day.
I think that is wonderful. We're excited to partner with you guys. Remember, if you have ideas you want to submit, go ahead and scan that QR code. As I accidentally clicked it off too soon. There it is. You can also go to our social media pages. It'll be there as well. So I do want to kind of transition a little bit. So you were recognized as a 2026 TMSA Rising Star Award winner for growth and marketing work. And part of this was, and I remember so specifically when you were announced, we were like, oh, he has 2 brands, which we talked about at the beginning of this. Like you're running marketing for 2 whole companies. What did that recognition mean to you, especially someone who is still kind of relatively new to the industry?
Yeah, I mean, like, just to be real with you, like, I struggle with imposter syndrome every
Who
day.
doesn't?
Like, who doesn't, right? I've only been doing this for 4 years now, from the time I got into marketing to now. And, my background, I actually went to school to be a pastor. So I'm a seminary graduate, and I know that I have, like, a storytelling background, and to me, marketing is about storytelling. So I've always been able to kind of intuit what's the story we're trying to sell here? Not just, like, what's the product we're trying to sell, but, like, what's the compelling problem this is solving for somebody? How's this making their life better? And so, when you go from that to here's how you tweak your CPA on meta ads on all the 17 ads you're running, it can get overwhelming really fast and you don't know if you're doing a good job. So I love working on some of these bigger projects like the rebrand we did with Revolution about a year ago, because I felt like that gave me the opportunity to kind of demonstrate I can architect this from the top down. And so the award recognition is like everybody loves the validation that they're doing a good job and that what they're doing matters. And I think for TMSA to provide that for early career people or people who are just entering the marketing phase of their career, it was huge. It was huge for me.
Well, I'm glad. And yes, TMSA, we specifically made the Rising Star Award for people who've been in the industry for 5 years or less, because we like talked a lot that a lot of like the Rising Star categories are age based. But I was like, what if you're older, but you're starting in the career? That should still be recognized because you're a rising star in the industry. So I like that you got that. And that was part of, that decision making that we did for us. Part of that recognition for why you won came from building the complete brand platform for Revolution Trucking, and then also helping Road Dog Care evolve from a direct to consumer startup into this enterprise driver wellness brand, which you touched on at the beginning of this, of like, oh, now we know that like our sales strategy is going to the companies themselves. I'm curious, especially because you are kind of newer to marketing overall, what part of that journey challenged you the most as a marketer and then maybe as a person too?
Yeah, I think, especially in this industry, there's a lot of it's always been done this way, or there's a lot of
Mhm.
assumption that everybody speaks the same language. And learning acronyms, both on the marketing side of things like CPA and CPC and all these acronyms, but then just learning some of the lingo that you have to know in the trucking space, especially, it's a huge learning curve. And what I think that I was able to bring to the table was, hey, there are going to be people that are looking for our services that aren't well versed in this. I know that 99% of them probably are, but if I don't know how to look on Google for I need to get this freight shipped and I don't know the language, I'm not going to land on our page. So we need to make sure that this is a compelling story to tell, not just to people within the industry that already may know us, but to complete outsiders. And so I think bringing that outsider's perspective, it was a challenge because I think it's a tough sell sometimes in this industry, but it also helps a company really clarify what do we do and how do we position that in a market where everybody says that they do the exact same thing. It's a really crowded space with not a lot of unique language. Everyone's sharing the same words and sharing the same phrases, trying to rank, trying to steal each other's traffic. So
Mhm.
being able to kind of carve out a unique identity within that is a huge challenge.
I agree. I think too, you talked about like imposter syndrome. I have that all the time. And it took me a long time to realize that like my perspective is an important one. I think this came into play when I worked for a technology company because they talked the tech lingo. They knew everything, but it was like CRM. And I was like, okay, but I'm a marketing person. So if I don't understand what they're saying, our audience doesn't understand what they're saying. And so all
Yep.
of a sudden, instead of feeling stupid all the time, I was like, no, my perception matters because we need to make sure that our messaging. And so, like you said, like not everyone talks the lingo, not everyone understands the components that you do because you live and breathe it all the time. So how do we peel back that layer and really make sure that everyone can understand our story, what we do and what we do for them, which I think is
Mhm.
incredibly important.
Absolutely.
And you've been able to connect marketing work to outcomes like revenue growth, like search visibility, partnerships, new business opportunities. how do you decide then which metrics actually demonstrate that marketing is contributing to the business? Because this is often the hardest part of marketing.
I'll tell you what, it's getting a lot more difficult now that organic search is just plummeting off of a cliff with, Google's implemented their AI overviews and they're really trying to become a zero click environment. So they're not sending outbound traffic the way they used to. And so over the last 6, 8, 12 months, I think everybody in marketing that works with blog writing and organic SEO has really strongly and quickly pivoted to how do I get cited in AI? How do I make it into that AI overview, whether by name or just as that little hoverable citation in hopes of capturing a click, maybe, or just staying top of mind with people who never click out from Google. I think that especially when you're working for smaller regional companies like I do with Revolution, you're not working with an unlimited budget. I could be tweaking Meta ads and Google ads all day and trying to rank that way. I think I've always tried to go the way of the organic click because it's zero cost, it's evergreen. And if you can do it the right way, you're going to live on page one for a really long time. That's become, honestly, that's become a huge revenue mechanism for us at Revolution because, again, like there's no real outbound spend there. But now the challenging environment is, okay, where is the next place we need to go if Google is not going to be honoring this system the way that they have for the last 10, 15 years? Does it need to be Reddit? Does it need to be a hard pivot into LinkedIn? Or where are the decision makers living in a way that we can continue the strategy of organic and have the results that we've gotten 5 years ago translate to now?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's constantly changing. Like I know I go into ChatGPT and it's all like, get ads. And I was like, oh, now we have ads in here.
In Chat GPT. Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I thought this was a safe space. No, but yeah, it's constantly evolving. And I do think you need to think about like, who is the audience? Where are they? And how do I reach them? And doing that is going to look different and continue to look different as we move forward
Mhm.
because it's not what it once was. And I do think it's like even people like my age, we still go to Google and search. A lot of people, if they're looking, they go for like recommendations or whatever, they go to Instagram. Like that's how they're searching businesses and or they're going into chat or whatever. This is totally kind of off topic, but this is such a trashy show, but The Ultimatum, the one guy on the show, he talked to ChatGPT through his relationship problem, which is something that people do, but like to watch it on TV in such a trashy forum, I'm like, oh, this is real life. Like this is how
Yeah.
people are engaging with technology now. And so thinking about like that could be a potential buyer one day is, slightly terrifying. But that's how we have to come to market. It'd be like, okay, this is how they're accessing information. This is where they're getting their information from. How do we appear in those places? And so we get inspiration from the strangest of places, I guess, is my
Yes, that's
tale
for sure.
here. What? But you've been able then to accomplish quite a bit here in the industry over your 4 years. And you talked about not everybody knows those lingos, not everybody is here. What do you think someone coming into transportation from another field can kind of bring to the longtime industry professionals that they might not always see, which I feel like you've kind of touched on a little bit just because you're like, oh, hey, I'm new. This is what I see how to do it. But how else could somebody else coming in kind of make those shifts and changes?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to recommend anybody just like digs their heels in a way that's combative, but I think just knowing what you're naturally good at. Like I know that I am naturally good at storytelling, at crafting narrative, at kind of distilling that down. And so being able to present that and find projects that I could work on that can demonstrate and prove that, it helped me kind of get the cachet that I needed to then have a steeper learning curve with the nitty-gritty stuff like ad buying and content formation and things like that. So being able to come in and immediately hit the ground running in one area. The hard thing is like with marketing, if someone says they're the head of marketing, it could mean they're doing a million different jobs. And they probably are doing all of the million
Yeah, they
jobs,
probably are
right?
doing a million jobs. Yeah.
I don't think anyone coming into marketing is going to be a master at all of those things, but you're probably really good at one or two of those things. And so figuring out what that is when you hit like a Wednesday and you feel like I don't know what I'm doing and this is really hard and I think I made the wrong choice, having one thing to go back to and even just do like incremental work that you can look at and say that's damn good. Like I did a
Mhm.
really good job on that one thing. It can carry you through the rest of the week. And it can also help you demonstrate that when you need that boost in the early going.
Mm. I like that. I think that's kind of this podcast for me. I started my career in journalism, and I'm like, at the end of the day, I can interview people and I can get them to like tell me their great information that they have, their knowledge. I can bring that out of people. And so that's part of why I love doing the podcast because,
Yep.
yes, I can have imposter syndrome of all the other things. I've gotten better with it, but like this is a skill I was trained to do.
Yeah.
And so, and then how do you incorporate that in? I also like that you said, like, you're not going to be great at everything. That's advice that I give to marketing people all the time. I used to do this session that's like the top 10 skills for a one person marketing team, because that is the hardest lesson to learn is like, I don't know everything. I'm
No.
not going to know everything. Things happen so fast and they change so quickly. What am I actually really good at? What can I outsource to somebody that's going to be really, really good at their one to two things to bring the best marketing forward?
And I think the day that I realized like I'm actually getting more mature in this space is the day that I felt like I could say, I'm not good at that. And if we want to do that, I'll find someone that can help us do that, but it's not going to be me. And
Mhm.
not fearing that I was going to lose my job for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I knew that I had a base of stuff that I did that was presentable and really good. And not everybody's going to be good at everything. And I think like it has to dawn on you at some point that you might never get very good at that. You might get like a facility with it, but that doesn't mean that your work is going to be as good as somebody else. So finding people to collaborate with, finding ways to outsource, and then having the confidence to say, I am an expert in this area of marketing, not that area. And
Mhm.
that's okay. I think was like, it's a huge realization.
Yes, and I do think like there's expertise, especially how quickly the industry moves, that it doesn't make sense for one person to be able to do all of it because you're just not going to. Like I remember even back in the day, like I could write copy and I could incorporate keywords, but I was never the SEO strategist that was going to be like, okay, these are all the reports I'm looking at all this. These are the exact keywords. So yes, I would partner with the SEO strategist. I would build the content. I did
Mhm.
my part of that puzzle. But for me to be able to be the expert content writer and then also be the person diving in and doing all those things, it's an incredible amount of time instead of just acknowledging, yep, this is how it go. This is going to be the best plan for the best path forward. This is how we're going to put out the best. Because the other piece that I think is really important and the way I like to work is to, like you mentioned, there's a lot of like, oh, this is the way we've always done it type of mentality. I don't always think the first idea is the best idea.
Mm.
So how can we collaborate and have the right people at the table to have that collaboration, to have that discussion so that the best idea, we all trust each other to know that we're going to do our part and our perspective is important and we're all there to put the best work out to get that best idea forward. Because I
Yep.
don't want people to be like, oh, she said an idea. Yes, that's the one. Because I don't, there's going to be a different idea or a better idea. Or if we like participate and collaborate, we'll get to that one at the end. And that is to me the power of like marketing collaboration and like bringing in your sales teams and talking to your ops teams and talking to your
Yep.
leadership, because then you get the full picture to build that best idea instead of just being one person creating one idea and then carrying it through all of the parts.
Being able to find somebody else in the industry or with, ideally within your own company that has a passion for doing the thing that makes you want to die after doing it for 5 minutes is, I'm very easy to psychoanalyze. Like I've mentioned meta ads, I think 5 times now on this podcast. I hate it. If I have to do it for more than 10 minutes at a time, I'm like, my day is ruined and I
Yeah.
will not recover from this. And so like, to me, that's the most tedious thing I can do. To somebody else, they're like, this is an equation to solve. This is a problem that I get to untangle and a puzzle piece I get to fit together. And I'm like, thank you so much for providing this service to me, because if I had to do this for another 10 minutes, I would have just given up and gone home. So
Mhm.
collaboration's huge, but also recognizing that like my passions lie elsewhere, and that is okay because we'll all still get this project done.
Yep.
That's big.
Yep. It's not a secret that I struggle with trade show booths. I've sliced my finger open on a pop-up banner, and I try really hard to never now put pop-up banners up. I will if I have to, but I we used to have this big, we got a new one for Elevate this year. It's a much better banner, but we had this huge banner that would just make me cry. And everybody, like it was just, I don't do well with that. I just don't. And I have accepted it.
Yeah.
But I've watched other people just go put up their booths single-handedly. I'm like, this is amazing. My brain does not work like that. So totally get it. I do think self-awareness, understanding what you're good at, what you like, how you can turn those passions into the work. Of course, we all do things that we don't want to do. That's part of the gig too. But like finding that balance is really, really important. So
Absolutely.
well, thank you so much for your time today. I do have one more question for you, the one I ask everybody who comes on the show. And if that's, you could go back in time and advise yourself anything, personally or professionally, when would you go back to and what would you tell them?
Oh, wow. I would say just after grad school, I was looking for ways to prove myself really quickly in whatever area I could. I was just looking for a job, right? And I think that what I really would have told myself at that point that I know now is trust your instincts and trust what you're actually good at. And you can find jobs that will hire you because they understand that you are good at one thing. And I spent so much time trying to be like a Renaissance man and going a mile wide and an inch deep that my resume just looks like you've done a million things. I don't know what you're good at.
Mm.
And I think that like having the confidence to say I'm not good at everything, but I'm going to go really deep on this one thing and kind of build that out. I think I was wandering in the wilderness for a while, like career wise.
Mm.
And so finding somewhere where I can land that now that I'm doing it and I'm, building brands and telling stories, I can trace it back and say like, oh, I've always been good at this. Why didn't I think about it sooner? I think it's just being honest with yourself about what gives you the most life and what you have the most passion for, and where do you create the best work, and then finding ways to express that wherever you might land.
Hmm. I think that's so important. The self-awareness piece, understand, like I've mentioned, I work from home. I I struggle working in an office. That's just I need to be in my own space. I get distracted. I like to watch things in the background and that distracts other people. Just I know how I like to work and how I not even how I like to work, but how I work best because I do
Hmm.
feel like those are two different things. And yeah, earlier in your career, I feel like you really try to like put a round peg in a square hole or square whatever that saying is. And then as you get older, you're like, oh, but if I find the right boss, the right team, the right experience, I'm activated in the best way and they will understand that. And I do think
Absolutely.
it takes a bit. So I think that's really good advice.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Again, I'm going to pop this QR code up one more time. If you're interested in submitting your driver appreciation campaign, we would love to see it. It's always great to chat with you, Bob, and I will catch everyone next week on the show. Have a good one.